I don't live my life by no fucking board game.
Fuck you, IMDb!
All right, Andrew Young of Geekart here with the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Not only one of the greatest technical wrestlers of all time, but a fantastic manager, commentator, and also someone behind the scenes who put together some great booking as well.
Keep coming.
Fantastic, fantastic minister out there, a good Christian soldier, Ted DiBiase. It's a pleasure to talk to you, sir.
My pleasure, man.
Yes, so
You talk while I count my money.
there you go.
Got to stay in character.
Of
right?
course, of
Yeah.
course. Now, over the years, you wrestled some of the biggest names in the business. Who would you say was your favorite person to work with?
You know, as many guys as I wrestled, it would be hard to pick one guy. But there are a few guys. Now, in my early career, guys that helped shape me, guys that helped me learn the trade were guys like Harley Race, Terry Funk, a guy named Killer Carl Cox, Dick Murdoch. Now, in my own era, in my own generation, Bret Hart. I loved working with Bret. Jake the Snake. You know, Randy Savage, had good matches with them. And, you know, and people, and obviously I'd have to say Hulk Hogan. You know, not because Hulk was a great technical wrestler, but Hulk knew what he could do well, and he capitalized on it to the T. Not to mention the fact that wrestling with him is where I made my biggest money.
There you go. Of course, of course. With Bret and other guys like that, was there anybody you wrestled that you knew they were going to be the next big thing?
Well, I mean, I knew Bret was going to be, you know, because I came in as the $1 Million Man, and he was still doing the tag thing. But, you know, I'd known him. I've known the family for years, so I knew that was coming for sure. Well, two guys that I managed that I was actually put in the position to manage them. Of course, managing in wrestling is character, but in my case, you know, it was like also to help them along. And one of those guys was Steve Austin. And I knew Steve was going to be big. As a matter of fact, I remember telling Steve, you keep doing what you're doing, and it's going to take you a little bit longer to get over, because it's a rugged style, but it's not. He wasn't a big flamboyant, high-flying. I said, but once you're over, you're going to be over for good, buddy. And the other guy was Shawn Michaels. I used to sit in hotel rooms with Shawn and listen to him just go, you know, like, I know that I'm better, and, you know, and I should be doing this and I should be doing that. And I said, well, Shawn, I said, there's politics and everything. And I said, but eventually the cream always rises to the top. And I said, it's just a matter of time. And I said, and when your ship comes in, it'll be huge. And, you know, so I foresaw those two guys for sure.
Now, I've heard, and I know that it's been said that the gimmick that you were given when you came into the WWF, Pat Patterson said it was the gimmick that if Vince McMahon was to give himself a gimmick, that would be it. Absolutely. Now, I know that there was a lot of things put into the gimmick that were said to have been a dig at Dusty Rhodes, as in like the name of Virgil and the $1 Million Dream being those the finishing move. When you actually got to work with Dusty Rhodes, was there any animosity because of that, or like no?
No, absolutely not. I mean, now the name Virgil for my buddy here, that was, and actually I think it was Bobby Heenan. You know, just, you know, off the, you know, it was just like it's like it wasn't like we were sitting around going, oh, what are we going to name the guy, you know? And it was just like an off-the-cuff thing one day. We're having lunch, and it's like, you know, and he just said, let's name him Virgil, you know. So everybody laughed, and so they named him Virgil. Right. Now, the $1 Million Dream had nothing to do with Dusty in reality. Oh, no, okay. It was. I had to pick a finisher, a move, and you need to pick something that that you can do to anybody and everybody. And, you know, I'm not one of those, you know, I'm not a Rey Mysterio. I can't do triple back somersaults. So you know, and also I didn't want to have to pick some big move where I was going to have to pick some, you know, 300 or 400 pound guy up and put it on him. So I picked a variation of the sleeper hold. I just called it the $1 Million Dream, you know, because I was going to put him to sleep.
There you go.
So there you have it.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Now, you mentioned Bobby Heenan. I know that in '94, after you retired from wrestling in Japan, you came back to the WWF to do commentary, and it was shortly after Bobby Heenan left to try his hand at Hollywood acting. Basically, you were kind of coming in to fill the commentary spot of was considered one of the greatest color commentators of all time. Like, was there a lot of pressure? Or do you feel like I'm just going to go out and do my thing, and me and Gorilla will do fine?
Yeah, I didn't feel that at all. You know, in my opinion, you know, you're not going to top Bobby today. In my opinion, there's nobody has ever topped Bobby Heenan, and I don't know that anybody ever will be able to top Bobby, because Bobby, you know, Bobby was in character, but Bobby was also a very funny guy. You know, and that's really him in a lot of ways, and which is a wonderful guy. And so I didn't even try to compete with Bobby. And the other thing that was great about coming in and having Gorilla Monsoon was couldn't ask for somebody better to help groom me and you know, and help make me a commentator. Yeah, I was nervous because it was something that I had never done, and you know, I don't think that I was particularly great at it either, because if I was really great at it, I'd still be doing it.
Well, there was one thing that I always liked about your commentary. Like, generally, heel commentators, they usually always back the heels completely. Like, you know, they're doing the right thing and stuff. But there was one thing that I always found hilarious, is that whenever Gigolo Jimmy Del Rey of the Body Donnas would come out and do his little sexy dance, it was always started, you'd always be like, no, Jimmy, don't do it, don't do it. I was like, oh, what was so terrible about Jimmy Del Rey's sexy dance that even you couldn't back it up?
Do you have to ask? It was horrible.
Fair enough, fair enough. Now, you have one of the most famous entrance musics in WWE history. Of course, it's all about the money. Now, you were also, it seems like, to the best of my memory, you were one of the first people to actually get to sing their own entrance music. Now, what
you call that singing?
Hey, if Johnny Cash could call it singing, you could call it singing. And,
produced by Jimmy Hart, by the way.
oh, really? Well, there you go. Now, with that song, what do you think is the lasting appeal of it? Do you think it's the words or the famous laugh that starts it off?
It's got to be the laugh. I mean, the trademark, without a doubt, for the $1 Million Man is the laugh. And again, to the credit of Vince McMahon, I was, you know, back then we did our television shoots once every 3 weeks, and we would do 2 days. We would do 3 shows of superstars on one day, and we do 3 shows of Challenge the next, and some of the other stuff, you know, in between. But we would have sound booths set up, you know, on location to do the interviews. And back then, the top guys, they did interviews for individual markets. So Gene Okerlund would say, you know, $1 Million Man, you're going to be in Chicago, you're going to be in wherever, you know. And so you'd do these interviews. And so it just so happened that I ended an interview with the laugh. And Vince happened to be walking by, and he stuck his head in and he pointed at me and he goes, "That's it. That is the $1 Million Man." And he said, "I want you to begin every interview and end in every interview with that laugh." So
that's fantastic. Well, thank you very much for talking with me. I just have one quick question from my good friend, Mr. Ken Baumgartner, that he's been dying to find out the answer to this.
okay.
Who would honestly win in a match? The $1 Million Man, Mr. Ted DiBiase, or the $6 Million Man, Mr. Steve Austin?
Well, that's easy. The $1 Million Man.
I don't know. I mean, he fought Bigfoot. He had a bionic wife.
I know, but he's a real fairy tale, and I'm a half shoot.
Everybody has their price.
For the $1 Million Man.